Hello and welcome to Back 40 Bushcraft. If you're here today, it's because you're as curious as I am as to whether a twig stove can burn whole rounds or not. I'm a pretty big fan of the Toaks titanium twig stove. I have other stoves, but this is one that just fits really nicely in with my little pot and cup setup and those kind of things. Super light. I don't know what the weight is. This is the large one. Couldn't imagine going with anything less than that. Now, full disclosure, I've tried this a couple of times and the results have been varying. So I did have some birch around here, nice birch. And so the first piece I tried drilling 3/8 all the way through just to see if the convection could work in there. Straight up answer is no. You don't want to do that. For me, this looks like just something you're going to put on the desk and stick a couple pens and pencils in there for when you need them, but that's not going to be much helpful for this purpose. So the second piece I tried, again, another small round of birch like that, and I took a 1-inch spade bit and drilled one hole right through the center, and as you can see, it did better. You know what was kind of cool is that it actually smoldered, and maybe we'll talk a little more about why that's not such a bad thing for different applications. The problem I feel like I've been having in trying this, I'll go back to this other one, is that it's not fitting in there snug. The air is not being forced up through those holes or through this single hole of this one. It's also coming up through the sides. So there's no real reason for it to try and draw through there. So I could go out into the woods and look for some standing dead. I'm not sure I have that kind of time in my day to be able to do that sort of thing. So my workaround solution, because I've done the best case scenario type of things before, is I cut a really nice old piece of seasoned wood. Some say you're only supposed to put the wood up to there, but I actually prefer to cut it a fair bit longer. And the reason is, as you can see, it actually gets pretty close to the mouth of the Toaks. It makes it really easy to get your fire started up in there, and once it does catch on, it's going to burn a lot longer. So the purpose of this practice, man, I had this great idea. I'll go out into the woods and find a burn zone near here, but accessibility is still kind of hard to do in this weather because we have no snow down low and then we have wet, weird snow up in the woods, that sort of thing. So for the purpose of this demonstration, my plan is to take a nice, perfectly seasoned piece of wood, plop this right up on here, take one of my kids' Crayola number reds, so that I've got something to work with. I'll whittle this down so that it fits perfectly in there. And now this is not going to just burn a hole around like that, right? It's not going to work that way. So what I'll do is I'll do the Swedish fire torch, I believe they call it. Swedish fire torch, where once I get it to fit in there, I'm going to split it into quarters. And then once you split it into quarters, chip off the little inside corners, just like that, so that you have a hole in there. And the idea is the convection will come up through there. Do you think it's going to work? I aim to find out.
Mountain dog. He's beating the mountain dog.
Well, here's what I've learned. In truth, I sat here stoking the Toaks, as you can see, and stoking until it did catch on fire in the center, and as such, you know, it looks like it's still putting out a decent little amount of heat. This is now my third or maybe fourth set of these that I've built, just out of old tent pegs, because the pot doesn't just really like to sit flush on top of that. It smokes. Just letting a little bit of air in there is really quite helpful. Now the final thoughts are, will a Toaks Twigs stove burn a hole around? Not whole, Swedish torch hole, I guess. And for the little 30 minutes of kind of plugging wood, I probably could have done it for whatever. I think it would work. I'd probably still have a decent enough if you were to be barbecuing. Would be one of my sort of theories. It's hot, you boil your water, and when it gets to that point, I have this tiny little grill right here that you can just plop on top, grill up a couple things. Okay, full disclosure, I tried this yesterday and it really didn't work as well as it did today. So I was planning on coming in with this like totally disappointing, I'm sorry it didn't work, guys. But it apparently worked. And maybe the difference is the piece of wood that I did yesterday, same thing, drew the circle and cut it to fit. But the piece I'm using here today is seasoned like a couple of years. Really guaranteed dry. Where my other one could have been from a different pile that maybe wasn't as aged. So it worked way better. The one yesterday, because it wasn't working as well, it smoked and smoked and smoked. And to me, well, that's not going to help you cook a meal or anything. It's not working well for that sort of thing either. It smoked for hours. And one of the benefits to that I could see is when I go out by myself, if I don't want to just have a big fire or something like that, I'm always leery of wildlife around. And so if I could put a chunk of wood into that thing that's just going to smoke for like hours, I'm going to do that because wildlife don't generally go towards smoke. Well, why did I pack another stove, you may be asking? Well, I packed it in the name of science, of course. I couldn't just start cooking things on this one while I'm doing the Swedish torch test, now could I? So I whipped up some bannock and picked up some chorizo sausages with a cup of coffee, like, what? I can't believe it. You can actually burn a hole round in a Toaks Twig stove. Hey, I want to thank you for coming out on my adventure. Look at this sweet little creek. You know, how lucky am I? No one's been up here. There's that bit of a bigger trail that I came in on. No big deal. So it's been nice. If you enjoy the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Any comments? Care to share? 2 stoves? Too many? I'm still attacking enough firewood for days. They really just don't burn a lot of wood. You know, you can really kind of get away with it. So I'm still giving thumbs up on the Toaks. At some point, maybe I'll give a bit more information about my collapsible stove here. Plus, I did make some minor modifications. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. Thanks for coming along. Take care.
this bright yellow thing in the sky? Is it a UFO?
No, it's the sun, which I haven't seen in like 3 years or something, it feels like. Oh my gosh.